First of all, thanks for doing this. Can you just maybe start out by sharing your thought process on staying home and not going out to the combine?
Yeah, absolutely. There's obviously there's a million different ways to do things. We feel great about where we are with regards to the Senior Bowl. Really felt for us it's just a more efficient way to utilize our time. As you guys know, the Senior Bowl, there's a lot of medical checks, there's a lot of testing, there's a lot of poking and prodding of the players, so there's a ton of downtime. So we felt like it'd be a great use of our time to stay here, dive deep into the draft, work on free agency, revisit the Senior Bowl. So we've gotten a lot of work done. And we still have guys, we have guys working these guys out. So when they have their workouts, each position group has their workouts later in the week. We still have our position coaches flying down because they'll be on the field, which I think is useful in terms of getting up close and personal and being able to talk to them. But we're still able to execute all our 15-minute interviews, our 20-minute interviews that we get with our players via Zoom. So it's a great chance to get in, have an introduction and talk to them. So we're still getting everything that we need to out of the Senior Bowl from a exposure to the player standpoint. But felt like by being here, we were able to get so much more work done with regards to scheme and draft and free agency and all of it. So feel very good about where we are and feel like we're getting a lot better this week.
Robert, do you feel like you lose any of the in-person in the interviews, any kind of feeling you get from just being in the room with a person rather than being, on Zoom?
No, it's a great question, Kaz. The reality is it's a 20-minute interview. No one's going to hire that. And if you're going into the combine thinking a 20-minute interview is going to make or break whether or not you're going to give a young man millions and millions of dollars, well, shame on you. That's a personal opinion. We still have pro days. We still have private workouts. We still have our 30 visits. We still have so many more conversations, phone conversations. There's Zooms that follow. There's going to be a lot of different conversations. So a really cool 20-minute introduction via Zoom. Hey, this is who we are. Great to meet you. Let's go over some tape. Let's hear some philosophy. Hey, that was a great introduction. We'll see you about 50 more times between now and the draft. And so what we want to get out of the draft, I think, has been fantastic. And just so far, we know we've had meetings the first 2 days, first two nights. They've gone awesome. They've been seamless, and really happy about about the decision we've made and the direction we're going.
Robert, there's been a lot of talk about this edge rusher class. A lot of the draft gurus think this is a good class, and obviously you have experience with taking edge rushers high in the draft. What, in your system, what are you looking for from a college prospect to translate, to make him a draftable prospect for you at that position?
Oh man, I think pass rusher is universal. Their your ability to win one-on-one, your ability to win three ways, win with speed, win with counter moves, win with power, and there's some really cool prospects at the top of the draft. I get that there's not that splash name like a Nick Bosa or Chase Young, but these guys are really good. They're really, really good. And it's going to be exciting to continue to dive deep in all these guys to figure out the directions that we go, whether it's very deep too. So don't count out those guys who fall out into the late first, early second too. So it's an exciting group to watch.
Robert, how do you feel about the overall position you guys are in right now going into, now you're going to start making moves in the next couple of weeks, going into this offseason?
Feel really good. We wrapped up all our free agency discussions with the scouts yesterday in the morning, and feel really good about the plan. Obviously, Joe and I will continue to have conversations leading up to the moment. He's actually flying in to get what GMs get out of the combine with regards to visiting with agents and doing all those things. So again, just the efficient use of time. But so we feel really good about where we're at. Once he gathers more information, we'll have more discussions on the direction we can go. And thought Mike LaFleur and Jeff Albrecht did a great job presenting their sides of the ball. I thought Brent did a good job making his case for special teams. So it's a tool, free agency, and it's going to be fun to be able to use that tool. But at the end of the day, it still comes down to the draft. So,
Robert, in terms of considering the amount of cap room you have and all the draft capital, how critical is this offseason in terms of the grand scheme, the grand big picture in terms of getting this team where you want it to be?
I'll never put one offseason on top of the other. Every offseason is unique to its own. I think what you see around the league is when people put a big emphasis on one offseason over the other, you see a lot of panic buying, you see panic selling, you see a lot of odd moves that actually put organizations deeper into a hole that really make it hard to get out of. Especially the ones who feel like, when jobs are on the line, you just see some very odd decision making, and you can tell there's panic. And I think Joe and I feel very comfortable about our process. Every offseason is very, very important. Hitting on players, selecting the right people in free agency, making the right picks in the draft, and continuing to develop these young men. But continue to stay focused on making sound decisions for the organization first. And I think that's where we are. So every offseason is very important to us.
Robert, I know we talk a lot about surrounding Zach with talent. You guys, get the tight end, get the receiver, but in your opinion, how much better can you make Zach by improving the defense?
Yeah, that's awesome question, Connor. You can. It's if you are a defense, and we got a little bit better towards the end of the year, but there was a minute there where we were giving up 40 points a game, 30, 40 points. And if you're having to play a shootout, that's a lot of pressure on a quarterback. I don't care which quarterback you are, to wake up on Sunday morning knowing that you're about to go into a shootout and you have to keep pace because you can't get enough stops. So absolutely, it helps. It helps LaFleur. It helps Zach. It helps everybody because you can play a style of ball where you can call plays to set things up. You don't have to be impatient. It's okay to punt. It's okay to it's okay to keep the game a one-score game and then shoot, fourth quarter comes, let's go playmaker time and go make some plays, win a football game. But if you're asking Zach to play quarterback in the second quarter because you're in the middle of a shootout, again, that's not good for Tom Brady. It's not good for anybody. And so you absolutely having a better defense and improving on defense is at the front of our minds.
Robert, we've asked you a lot over the last year about that tight end position and your efforts to fill it. Exactly how important is having a receiving tight end to Mike LaFleur's scheme? And from what you've seen in what's available in free agency and the draft, how confident are you that you can fill that spot this offseason?
Yeah, we feel good about it. There's there felt like our tight ends this year did everything they could. There was some injury in there. Tyler missed some games. Griff missed the back half of the year. But it does help everybody from a run game standpoint, and then adding weapons. I don't care where you get the weapon from. You're only there's an old saying that you're only as good as your third receiver. Well, it doesn't mean three wide receivers. There's three skill guys, and so adding to that aspect where you got guys that can win one-on-one coverage in critical situations, be it a tight end, a back, a receiver, all helps the quarterback. And obviously that tight end spot, there's some players in free agency. There's some really good ones in the draft, and it's just a matter of evaluating and continuing to go through this process to see the direction that we go.
Whenever we asked you last year about Zach's progress, you always explained it through the lens of him being a rookie. Well, now that he's in his second year, how much more demanding of him will you be as he goes into his second year?
Yeah, it's the leash of a rookie is incredibly long, even for a rookie coach, right? It's just long. And it's expected that in the second year, there's expected to see a jump. So, but you can't get in the way. You can't allow expectations to dictate how you operate from day to day. You stay within your process. And I know that we can't talk to the players, but talking to Zach, he's, just keep the main thing. Focus on football, continue to work at everything you got. Don't worry about all the different things that can come and all the pressures from the outside world with regards to everybody having an idea on how to maximize life and money and all that crap. It's just focus on ball, find ways to get better, keep studying and get ready to work. And that really goes for everybody. And I know he's doing that. So it's, but yeah, the expectations will be higher, but that can't change his process.
So how much would you guys prioritize weapons to help, I guess, accelerate Zach Wilson's development?
The one thing you could say is if you go through offense and defense, there's a laundry list that you can check off. It's not like teams picking 25 through 32 where it's very easy to say, oh yeah, for sure they're going this direction and this direction because those are only two spots. Cincinnati, I bet they do something with their offensive line. There's not a lot of things that they've got to do differently. So there's a lot of different things. Anything we do to this team is going to be helping the quarterback at this point. And whether it's improving the defense, adding a skill guy, improving the O-line, adding a tight end, it doesn't matter. Everything that we do, no matter what decision we make, we feel like it'll be indirectly or directly improving the quarterback. And weapons obviously are there, O-line, defense, everything is all part of it.
Robert, when you talk about weapons like receivers, tight ends, running backs, how much do you value the veteran or the player that's already in the league, because the fact what he is, there's no developing really for him. He's already the proven commodity and can help Zach now, compared to maybe if you go with the younger player route like the NFL draft, that guy's there's going to be that acclimation period in the NFL where he might not necessarily help Zach as much in the immediacy, but the long-term goals. So I guess what I'm trying to ask is, how do you factor in immediate improvement and immediate gain compared to the long-term value of something?
There's a fine balance. Like offensive guys, like Jamar Chase, the Waddles of the world, they're the anomaly, right? The norm is like a Deebo Samuel, who this is year 3. He had a nice rookie year, not so much his second year because he suffered through injury, which is a common theme with second-year players. And then boom, third year he jumps on the scene, and it's constant. And so you almost go in drafting young rookies, especially on offense, that it's going to take 2-3 years for them to hit their full stride. So there's that balance. And then there's also you look at what the Rams did with purchasing developed players already, but those guys come with a premium, and it's Buffalo did it with Stephon Diggs. You buy it at a premium, but are you at that point where you can make that jump because of the amount of the different things that we have to get done as an organization to be able to put ourselves in those positions where it's 1 or 2 players away. So there is a balance. And again, all these things we're talking about with Joe, and but at the same time, I promise all other 31 teams are doing the same thing.
We'll take a couple more questions for Coach.
Robert, there's always debate about positional value with the draft, and what positions do you not take in the top 10 and that kind of thing. What's your feeling on safety? Would you be okay taking a safety in the top 10, or is that a position you think you wait later in the draft for?
Depends on how good he is. They're I call them unicorns. Like, I would never want to take a linebacker in the first round, but Tremaine Edmonds was sitting there, and I wore his jersey to the draft. He's a unicorn in the linebacker world, right? But same thing with the safety. If he's I remember there was a hard discussion on Derwin James, and the guy's phenomenal. And so you never want to say no to any position group. Obviously, there's premium positions when you look at quarterback and edge rusher and corner and all those different O-line, like all of them. But and those are the easy ones to check off. But you can never say no to a unicorn and someone who's got a tremendous talent and who's clearly the best possible player you could take at that particular time. And so you never want to be stubborn to your thought process. But so to answer your question, taking a safety, if he's worthy of it, it will definitely be in the discussion.
Robert, you mentioned the Rams in your last answer before that one from Kaz, and I was just wondering, I think from my perspective, that's probably the first time, and they've been among the more aggressive teams that I've ever seen with their willingness to trade draft picks. With them doing that and then finding success this year in winning a Super Bowl, do you believe that you could see a more willingness from other teams across the NFL to deal first-round picks, to deal second-round picks for proven players?
Yeah, it depends on if it's a copycat league, right? So I'd imagine all 31 teams are doing it, and or 31 other teams are doing it, and or at least snooping around. But it's I still believe you've got to be very, very careful and really, really understand where you are as an organization. The Rams were ready, so they went and got Stafford. The Rams were ready and in position, and they were ready to make a championship run with the guys that they had. And if you're trying to go buy a corner and you're then using 2 of your first round picks and you've got a 4-win football team, I don't know how much that moves your needle compared to using 2 first-rounders to get a quarterback. So it's still about developing Zach the best way we can, developing our defense, continuing to add pieces to the offense, and get ourselves to a position where those conversations can be very real.
Coach, how much value does the combine have now with everything being so virtual? And with you not being here, like how are you guys going to specifically use your time to be efficient?
So I'd mentioned it earlier. As coaches, we're still able to get everything we need. We're still able to meet with these guys over Zoom. When the workouts start happening, we're flying some of our position coaches who were tasked with working these guys out, so they'll still be able to get up close and personal. So from a coaching standpoint, everything that we would do if we were in Indianapolis, we're able to do here, minus the one-on-one interaction of the meeting. But like I said, in a 20-minute meeting, if you're basing your decision on drafting a kid off of a 20-minute chaotic combine meeting where the kid is just poked and prodded and dragged from room to room, then that's shame on you. But so being back here, being able to work while there's so much downtime at the combine, as you guys know, we're able to get our free agency done. Which we did yesterday. We're diving deep into the draft, so we've already been ahead of the Senior Bowl, so we're able to knock out the other half of the guys that weren't at the Senior Bowl and revisit the Senior Bowl. So we're really, really feel comfortable about where we are with scheme and making that extra jump and regaining a week to continue to stay ahead of the offseason so we can put in the extra time when it gets to crunch time to put in that little bit of extra jolt to finish to cross the finish line when it comes to making these picks and free agency and all that stuff.
Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, Coach.
Thanks, everybody.